All right, guys, we have some more pro wrestling news coming out of WWE WrestleMania 36. No spoilers here on this channel, nor will they be in this video, but we are going to talk about a WWE superstar who also dropped out of WrestleMania 36 and is no longer competing for the WWE Raw Tag Team Championship. Guys, I wanted to talk about this for a lot of reasons because I think this opens up a bigger conversation than just, guys dropping out of the card or whatever it may be. So here on Destination PW, we're turning off the camera, turning on the microphone, and we're just going to talk. So with that being said, guys, I want to ask that you guys show your support. And the best way to do this, guys, is just listen to the entire video. I'm going to bring up some different points. I think you guys may agree or disagree, but I genuinely want to know what you guys think about this. So the best way to help me out is give me some feedback based on my opinions that I'm dropping throughout this video. And then of course, guys, you could do the additional stuff, like follow me on Twitter, at Tango with Ango. I'm also on Instagram. And then of course you guys could like, comment, and subscribe. That definitely helps as well. But most importantly in this video, I want to cover a couple things because we now know that Andrade is out of the Raw Tag Team Championship match. And this causes a larger problem. I think there's a bigger problem at hand when it comes to today's news. And there's a million things that are impacting this. Okay, so I'm going to try my best to stay as organized as possible throughout this timeline. I don't want to lose my train of thought, but it is possible because I'm literally just spitballing true emotions and reaction to the news. But Andrade has dropped out of WrestleMania 36, and this is pretty big news, not because Andrade is a main event player in WWE, but because this also shows how many people are truly they're truly in a rut right now. Like there's no easy answer to this problem. There is no easy solution. And when it comes to everything that we're hearing about this pandemic and how it's affecting pro wrestling, it is pretty shitty to see WWE impacted on so many levels. And I just kind of want to talk about it. So Austin Theory from NXT, former Evolve champion, is going to be making his main roster debut by teaming up with Angel Garza against the Street Profits for the Raw Tag Team Championship belts. And the pro wrestling fan inside of me is very unsure of why this is happening with Austin Theory. Not saying the dude doesn't deserve a big opportunity, let alone his first ever main roster match being on WrestleMania. But is this a WrestleMania moment that you can necessarily gloat about? Being that the circumstances is that this is the first WrestleMania that's not in front of, 50, 60, 70,000 people. This is an empty arena. This is happening at a time where the world is facing a crisis. And I posed a very serious question on my Twitter, and I asked everybody on my Twitter, and I said, and this is like me being very genuine. I said, serious question, does this year's WrestleMania actually count? Because right now, if I'm a wrestler, I would not feel like this event counts for anything. But Austin Theory is getting the call up to the main roster in this match, and there's a couple problems that we have to kind of target. One of them, as a wrestling fan, I have to mention Austin Theory more than likely is going to lose his debut match at WrestleMania. I cannot see WWE putting the belts on him and Angel Garza only to take them off the Street Profits so soon. So therefore, Austin Theory, who lost against Tyler Breeze on NXT this past week, on NXT going head-to-head with AEW, Austin Theory got that he got that loss. Now, his second match, which no build, nothing like that, he is going to be competing for the Raw Tag Team Championships. It just simply doesn't make sense storyline-wise, and it hurts Austin Theory more than it actually helps Austin Theory. Now, guys, I'm not stupid. There's a bigger picture here. The bigger picture is that health is way more important than pro wrestling. So, of course, when you think about the grand spectrum of things, when you look at the scale of things, the way things are being booked right now simply don't make sense, but there's a far larger problem out there in this world, and that is the health and safety of everybody that's out there. So that brings me to my original statement that I made in my previous video. At this point, why didn't WWE just postpone it? There has been several superstars who have dropped out of the pay-per-view. Several tag team matches are being changed. Matches are being changed into tag team matches. I mean, there is such a big fuss, a big chaos in regards to this pay-per-view. And all of these things that sound like problems, they are still not bigger than the original problem at hand, which is the safety and health of all the people involved with it. Now, for one, I admit that I'm selfish because, of course, I want WrestleMania to go on. 2 nights over 1 night. I know a lot of people hated that idea, but, you know, when you're dealing with a quarantine, you know, again, self-admittedly, I'm selfish here. 2 days of pro wrestling will definitely help take the anxiety away from a lot of people. So it makes sense that fans want WrestleMania to go on. But then when you think of the bigger picture, obviously, at this point, I think it's safe to say that it shouldn't. And it's not only that it shouldn't take place because of the pandemic that's happening, but it also shouldn't take place because it just doesn't make sense business-wise. It doesn't make sense creative-wise. It doesn't make sense for anybody who's competing at WrestleMania. You know, Drew McIntyre could potentially win the world title, and it's going to be in front of nobody. There's the rumors floating around that Brock Lesnar and WWE are having huge disagreements right now. These are things that we all have to consider. It just seems like this has a whole domino effect. There's been a domino effect that's come from this. And like I said, I don't want to politicize the corona and everything like that that's happening with it. But at the same time, too, there is people who are affected by this outside of pro wrestling. And these guys, obviously, they get a check from pro wrestling. But WWE is a massively huge company. This is not going to close down the doors of WWE. So ultimately, you got to put the people first. And this is why so many people out there are against WWE putting on WrestleMania. And don't get me wrong, it's not just WWE who's getting the heat. You know, AEW is getting the heat. And we could even talk about UFC getting the heat. A lot of people are upset about all 3 organizations putting the show forward. WWE is probably a little bit bigger in this case because they are bigger than both companies. And it just so happens that this is happening during the time of WrestleMania. But not only, you know, like I said, from the business aspect, it just does not make sense to throw Austin Theory into the match. And I'm a huge fan of Austin Theory. I think he needs as many wins as possible. And it doesn't make sense if he wins the belt. See, the thing is, it doesn't make sense if he loses, and it sure as hell doesn't make sense if he wins. There's no tag team with Angel Garza, and WWE has maybe 2 or 3 weeks at the most to build up a storyline now. It just doesn't make sense. Wrestling creative does not make sense here. And guys, we're all willing to give WWE a pass because, you know, we'll give them a hall pass. We'll say it's okay. Like, we'll make this work for them because as fans, we do want the content because of everything that's happening. But that's when you have to also realize, too, that there is a much larger picture. And if it sounds like I'm repeating myself a lot in these videos, guys, I am, because I think people they're arguing the wrong things here. It's like when I talked about Braun Strowman replacing Roman Reigns. You know, I tweeted this, and I got a lot of people sending me hatred because they did not agree that Braun Strowman should be in that situation. But ultimately, every creative decision going on to this company and this event specifically, it's just a blunder at this point. And people are going to look back and they're going to see that WWE was there for everybody. And it's going to go, and it's going to be, the thing is, people will look back and say WrestleMania was there for people when nobody else was, when the sports leagues and everybody closed down. That's how it's going to be historically. When you look at those history books 10, 15 years from now, when they talk about what's transpired these days, it's always going to be on the history books that WWE was there for everybody when people didn't feel that way from the government, from state government, from federal government, from other sports leagues, other celebrities, other entertainers. WWE will be looked at as like the people that kept the country moving forward. That's how I kind of presume everything will happen, history-wise, going into the future when they look back at the history. But at the same time, too, WWE is doing it at the cost of the health of their wrestlers, at the creative of their wrestlers. And honestly, I'm going to assume this impacts them business-wise, too. Financially, I'm sure it does. Good on WWE for trying to put on the show. Good on WWE for literally taking every roadblock and trying to figure this out. And props to AEW and UFC as well, because they do deserve their credit to try to work it through this. But my question to everybody by the end of this video is, at what point do you draw the line and say, okay, we cannot do this show anymore? Roman Reigns has backed out. The word around the block is that Edge and Randy Orton may not happen. There's just a lot happening, guys, and I think at this point it's just really, really interesting to see how things go and how things transpire. But we'll be talking a lot about WrestleMania, whether or not this brings in viewership or not. we are going to talk about it. So ultimately, I want to know what you guys think in the comment section down below. My name is Ango, at Tango with Ango on Twitter and Instagram. And guys, of course, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. I will see you guys here next time with more news on AEW, WWE, New Japan, Impact, and so forth. All right, guys, thanks for listening, and take care.